Hey guys, welcome to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly recap of what's going on in the world of sports, specifically hockey, even more specifically in Canada. I'm your co-host, Mick. You can find me on Twitter at ProfitMick, and I'm joined every episode by my lovely and talented co-host,
Grant, on Twitter at Fourth Line Sports. You may have heard a faint gun sound, and that was just referencing Mick's fucking really badass cowboy hat. So,
I'm getting ready the bandwagon. That's what I'm doing. I'm like getting ready the bandwagon. I'm getting the wagons going, the horses. So if anybody's wanting to jump on a bandwagon, we can talk about it today. We took a break last week, so we are recapping the NHL trade deadline today. Hence the cowboy hat. So,
see, I thought you were tipping your hat as it's kind of been like the wild, wild west because no one knows what's going on. But I like the bandwagon reference. I think that's better, more appropriate.
I was gonna start calling myself good old Mick R. You could be Grant the King White. Like it just flows, right? My God.
My God. Mick's at it again. Don't put him through the table.
Logan Stanley broke a man in half because Kaprizov. Oh my God.
I feel like I need some good like Midwestern analogies. I will adopt this persona, but I got to do some analogy work because I don't want to come in empty-handed.
All right, all I had was the Kaprizov broken in half. I was like, that like almost works perfectly. So, oh gosh, so it was a hot minute. I think you would be getting a different experience this week from last week. Just like gut feeling, there was a lot of flurry of activity in the week leading up to kind of the deadline where we took our break there. So I mean, any day, you could have had a different opinion on a different team. So now that we're a week removed, we can maybe take off the rose-tinted glasses, talk a little bit more objectively about some of the moves that happened, and see where we get to. So, if this is your first show, we're going to run through headlines. So, we're going to touch on each Canadian team. We have some fantasy advice, some gambling advice. We might even look at some puppies. There you go. There's our old throwback.
Puppies. Oh, man.
Puppies.
Oh, man. What a couple weeks it has been. And as expected, the trade deadline didn't live up to the hype, but oddly enough, I am okay with it this year because the days leading up to that day, I was like, we got our fill. There was a lot of trades.
I actually randomly had the week off, which worked perfectly. I went and got my little box of Timbits, sat on the couch, played some Zelda. It was a nice little day. Nothing happened. And I sat and watched TSN, Sports Center, flipped back and forth all day. They had nothing. They had no content on television at all. Like, they were literally expecting another 30-ish trades to happen that day. Like, they were fully expected. They had no segments, right? Give me a producing job that day after the week that you just had, all the movement that happens. Like, you could have tons of video packages. You could have tons of analysis, right? Like, tons of sound bites, tons of talking points. And they just gave nothing. Because they're almost like afraid of like, well, if we get too committed to a video and like we might miss like, a pretty big trade that happened. Like,
that is my biggest qualm over the last few years. It's like they just literally look at their phones or like they read you text messages like, oh, apparently a GM called another GM. Like, no fucking kidding, man. It's a trade deadline. Of course there's going to be GMs calling GMs. Like, it's just, I don't know. Much ado about nothing is the most polite way of putting it.
Yeah, pretty much. But as we're getting into it, we have to start, guys, like we always do. We take the standings, we roll down to the bottoms. Look at all these losers down here. California teams. The Coyotes. Coyotes aren't the worst team in hockey, so Columbus, you should be very disappointed in yourself. But I bet you if I scroll up, at 27th from the top, we get the Montreal Canadiens. Easiest team to recap, because as I pull up their cap-friendly trade review, they made a trade in October, and one in February, and then 2 on March 3rd. That was it. They switched Evgeny Dadonov for Denis Gurianov? No, Gurianov? Gurianov? Cool. Awesome. All right. And then it looked like that's it. They brought in Nick Bonino. Oh, no, they retained some salary and ended up with a 5th-round pick for Nick Bonino. Kind of quiet for Montreal.
The one trade that they did make, Gurianov versus Dadonov, I can't, like, across the board, it was like even keel. Like, two underperforming Russian forwards who earn like $2.6 million each.
Mm-hmm.
This felt like a nothing trade. It was really probably Dallas just being like, let's roll the dice with another Russian forward.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing doing in Montreal. Their performance at the trade deadline was akin to the talking heads. I couldn't care less about what they've done.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, Montreal, if we're on cap friendly and you look just at their cap page, they're a mess. They have a lot of middling contracts. Like, they are staying packed and just bottoming out and ending up with a top pick, I think, was probably the way to go. And when you end up in kind of cap hell, right, with just tons of contracts on guys that can't perform, that's what happens. So, Montreal. Any Montreal fans, though? If you want to jump aboard the bandwagon, we'll be signing up later. Montreal, unfortunately, did nothing. Jack shit.
I would like if you rounded up a couple nice French-Canadian girls onto the Leafs bandwagon, though, Mick. I'm hoping for you. I'm pulling for you on this one.
All right. Poutine. Let's see. So we got Philadelphia at 26. Vancouver, 25th from the top. Now, you want to talk about a team, like at least Montreal, we can say, you had to run the year out. You know, like, unfortunately, you were in a situation, it was development, right? I remember we did, like, a tiers list one point. They were clearly developing, maybe adding a pick somewhere, but I don't think they had a lot of UFAs. A lot of the guys with terms, no one wanted it. Cool. Great. Montreal, I'll give you, if I was to give them a grade, C plus B?
I was going to say B minus. I was like, they kind of just did what they needed to do.
Yeah, did what they needed to, right? Like, they had, you understand where they're trying to get to. Vancouver, on the other hand, I have some questions, Miss Johnny Canuck. All right, so where are we at? We have, oh my gosh, they had a lot of movement, didn't they? So they had the Beauvillier trade for Bo Horvat. We're all aware of that one. They then brought in some Russian forward, Kravtsov from the Rangers. I think he was a former high round pick that just hasn't panned out. So I think they have a couple Russians there. They're like, oh, bring a kid in, easy swing. They moved Luke Schenn for a 3rd round pick to the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's an expiring UFA. Why not? And then, you know what? Then Vancouver said, hey, you know what we have? Too many draft picks. What if we traded some first round picks? Because, like, you know what first round picks mean? Nothing. You know what developed talent that could play with Quinn Hughes means? Everything. So they bring in Philip Hronik or something like that. Or I think it's Ronick to play defense with Quinn Hughes. Why? I don't know. They then move out Curtis Lazar for another pick because, again, they're trying to collect draft picks for some reason now. And that was Vancouver's day. So what the F is Vancouver doing? That could just be their new logo. What are we doing?
I just think that I know that the market for defensemen was high this year, but you have overpaid substantially for Philip Hronik. Like, it just does not make sense to me. I don't know what's going on in Vancouver. I don't know what the thought process was. The going rate for defensemen being what it is, they still got hosed. I would be even more ashamed to be a Vancouver Canucks fan waking up after the trade deadline.
Yeah. Like, you know, and like we were kind of there last year. I don't think hockey's that hard. Like, you know, managing a hockey team doesn't seem that difficult because Vancouver just seems to make the wrong moves time and time again, and it bites them in the ass. Anytime they make a move that you think is stupid, guess what? It's fucking stupid. It's just bizarre. It's absolutely insane that they can just run this franchise like this. So you trade Bo Horvat for Hronik? How does that make sense?
I don't get it either.
When you see,
I honestly think that this franchise is going to be like, I don't even know. I was thinking about this. I was like, what is the worst franchise in all of sports? Is it like the Orlando Magic? Because they're pretty pathetic.
Ooh,
maybe
current Magic right now though are pretty sexy. Like, they have some picks. They have some guys. They're not bad. Don't they have some like German kids or something like that? They have a set of German brothers.
All right,
Wagners?
So is that like Carolina Panthers? They're not in a good spot. Anyways, I was struggling to find a comparable team in another league about just how bad this team is being run, and I can't do it. I can't find a team that is like, you know what, we're going to make the same mistakes the Vancouver Canucks made.
Like maybe Charlotte Hornets? Like, if you're going to throw shade at a shitty kind of franchise, like, I feel like them in Vancouver kind of seem like they're just like, what do you guys do? Like, you have some talent, you trade some players, and then they just suck. Like, they just make absolute dog shit moves. Like, at that point, why aren't you just trading a first and a second for Orlov and Hathaway? Right? Bring in some guys that can play hockey. Like, you know?
Yeah. They paid exactly what maybe this is a good segue. They paid exactly what the Ottawa Senators paid for Jacob Chychrun. And Jacob Chychrun is light years ahead of Philip Hronik.
Yeah, speaking of a team that wasn't doing much, now it did look like they were... Let's find them in the standings, actually. So Vancouver, that's it. We're done. Okay, so the Senators. So from the dark side of the league to the bright side of the league. Oh, look at that. 19th, Senators. I think they were knocking on a playoff door. They had a couple big games against Detroit the week of the deadline, which apparently tipped the needle to the management to say, yeah, these guys are winning. Let's go. Let's do something, right? So they got rid of Nikita Zaitsev. Remember when everyone was saying Lou Lamoriello was so smart for signing that deal? I wasn't. Anything else that I'm missing? Connor Brown was moved in the summer. Okay, we don't need to talk about. Chychrun, and then some minor league deals. But yeah, that was the big one. Bringing in this guy who had been sitting for, a year and a half, almost 2 years. Trade speculation behind him. And so far, so good, right? Good move.
I would say that it wasn't even a home and home in series. It was a back-to-back against the Wings. I think both games were played in Detroit. I can't remember. It was Ottawa versus Detroit, 2 games in a row. That tipped the scales for both teams. Yeah. After those games, the Red Wings were like, fuck it, we're not competing this year. And they sold off every asset they could for, I think that were probably one of the best teams at the trade deadline in terms of building for the future. And the Ottawa Senators were on the other side of the spectrum where it's like, guess what? We don't have to build for the future. The future's now. Mm-hmm. Let's fucking give this a go. They get Chychrun, solidify their blue line. Their offense is clicking. I don't know. It pains me to say this because I want good things for Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, but I could see the Ottawa Senators sneaking into the playoffs.
It's going to be fun in the East. Not are they loaded up top, but yeah, like right down through the standings, there's going to be a battle throughout. And this is a big move for a franchise, right? Big young kid. We were saying that, and I think at the start of the season, I'll eat crow, right? I said the Senators suck. They won't make the playoffs. I mean, I still might be right. But they've been frisky, right? The Kachucks, the Strutzels, playing out of their minds, right? And like me and Grant said, this is kind of Canada Puck's adopted team. If you were to say who's Canada Puck's favorite team, it's the Ottawa Senators, right? We kind of have to tip our caps to them. Senators, I don't think you have to join a bandwagon. I didn't even invite Vancouver fans onto the bandwagon because they don't deserve nice things ever. So Montreal, come aboard. Ottawa. If you miss the postseason, we'll slow down for you to catch up. But I don't think you need to join another team right now. It's good. This is a great move for the future. I'm excited to see. It'd be kind of fun to see another Canadian team in the playoffs too, right? I think they could be frisky. They have obviously issues that goaltending is going to be up and down, right? But going forward into the future, I think this is ideal. This is exactly the kind of move you want. So.
Before we move up the standing, I just wanted to offer my sincerest apologies to Jacob Chychrun because this man has gone from shitty franchise to shitty franchise. The only thing, he basically plays in the suburbs of the worst city in America, going to the suburbs of probably the worst city in Canada. So I don't know if he's getting a real taste of what life in the NHL should be like, but I promise you, driving an hour and a half to practice isn't what most NHL players have to do.
Yeah, that's unfortunately very true, very true. He did throw some shade at Arizona after his first game there in Ottawa. I think it must have been on a Saturday or something like that. And they did have some fun quotes where they're talking to him, and he's like, "Oh, this is great. What an electric atmosphere I'm in." He's like, "I haven't seen this many fans in the crowds in such a long time." And I'm like, "You poor broken little boy. God." Yeah, the Canadian Tire Center in his mind is an elite hockey arena. He's like, wow, I can't believe it. Running water.
Best $12 I ever spent was going to a Sens Oilers game. So,
got your tires rotated at the same time, man. What can't you do at the Canadian Tire Arena? From 18. I've unfortunately looked at the standings while I was setting up all the little web pages this morning, so I know who's at 18, guys. I know it's the Calgary Flames. I know they're right there. Calgary. Speaking of a team that might need a bandwagon to jump on, saddle up, Calgary, because what are you guys doing?
I was going to say, these guys are a close second to Vancouver because they fucked up in the worst possible way by doing nothing. Your team, like, you're fighting, you're clinging to a playoff hopes. That's it. And you see teams in your division, basically every team in the West went out and got better, except the Calgary Flames. They said they traded a Richie for another Richie, and a guy that immediately got assigned to their AHL squad. I was like, how? How is this the method that is going to get you into the postseason?
Really? Troy Stetcher didn't even make the team?
Well, I was the Dryden Hunt guy.
Okay. Okay, I was going to say, I was like, yeah, the Dryden Hunt one makes sense. I think that's just like a minor league swap, right? Like, the Leafs were in town the night before. I imagine Dubas and Treliving talked, right? Like, that's essentially, I think, what happened. And like, let's make a deal. Like, I like that guy. Okay, let's see what happens. Yeah. Nothing. No pulse in Calgary. Their fans right now, kind of depressed. Like, going back to work, talking to the guys, I know are diehard Flames fans. Like, there's a lot of, like, sad, long faces. Just kind of guys looking like, what can we do? That being said, looked like they were done. Saturday, they got their asses kicked by Minnesota, and then they go and they win, was it 3 games this week? Definitively, they go beat Dallas. They beat Minnesota again. I think they beat the Ducks last night, right? So they pump off 3 wins. And all of a sudden, they're kind of back in it, and you're like, are they going to make this? Are they going to get frisky all of a sudden and win this? Like, what happened? How do you do nothing, be lifeless, and like Markstrom's like, hey, if I actually stop a shot, like, we have a real good chance of winning hockey games. Like, was that it? They just needed, like, fucking Markstrom to figure out, like, don't just,
I don't want to kill your momentum here, but they lost to the Ducks last
Oh, did they
week.
lose? Oh, okay, all right.
So, I don't know where they stand on the teams that they're catching, and I know that they're within striking distance. It just feels like you could have done a lot more to increase the competitiveness of your squad, because what you've seen for the first 60 games of the season is a lifeless Flames squad that's just kind of doesn't even play a full 60 minutes. And instead of addressing those issues, they're like, you know what? We don't want to have to go out and pay for new jerseys and get new numbers. We're just going to take one Richie from another team and put him on this team, and everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Lazy.
It is lazy. Calgary, again, I'm guessing if you wanted to jump on a bandwagon now, probably not a terrible thing. Even though you're only, 4 points out of a playoff spot, so that's 2 games. You just got to start winning, right? And you definitely have to beat Anaheim, so.
Yeah, those are the teams that you need to beat, and they didn't. So I don't know what to make of the Flames. Maybe they do make a run here, but I know the team that we're going to be talking about next is a team that probably the only conceivable shot the Flames have of making the postseason. And I wasn't blown away with what they did either.
No, Winnipeg Jets at 15th. They've definitely fallen. They've been top 10. They were a top 10 team, according to the standings, all year. They have slipped just a little bit. They kind of just did nothing. I think in Cheveldayoff's mind, though, he made some big-time moves, guys. He traded a 2nd and a 4th. I don't know if this organization has let go of a draft pick in an eon. Like, I don't know how long they've been around, but I don't know since, like, the Thrasher days, if they've actually traded a draft pick. I think they just bring in the capital. They brought Nino Niederreiter from the Predators and Nenestikov from the Sharks. But you're like, wait, wasn't he with Tampa Bay? No, the day before he was traded to the Sharks from Tampa Bay. I don't know. I don't know what was going on there.
I don't know what was going on. I don't know what's going on in Cheveldayoff's mind, but it felt like they just missed the boat with this. You don't need depth players at this point in the season. You kind of need to lighten Connor Hellebuyck's load. And no offense, Nino Niederreiter or Vladimir Nemestikov. I know you're good two-way forwards, but I don't think that you're going to really limit the amount of high-danger chances.
Well, and I just, again, I don't watch the former Canada Puck favorite team with the Winnipeg Jets. I don't know I don't know if forward depth was really the issue with this squad, right? It was the guys up front just occasionally weren't playing. And in my mind, it was like back end help that they looked like they needed. Maybe defensively they're a lot more sound. Not watching more Winnipeg Jets games, like I'm not getting that. I just don't know that. So maybe that's my kind of naivety on that. But like again, move another first round pick and get Chychrun, a guy with term that wants to come. Like he would be so happy playing for the Jets. That'd be really cool for that kid, you know, because like you could play for Arizona, that was the Jets, and now you play for the new Jets. So you kind of, in theory, stayed with the same franchise for a while. Neat, cool. Now you can like maybe have a smile on his face when he's like driving 25 minutes to his arena or something like that, right? Like, I don't know. It leaves a lot to the imagination, but that's kind of the Winnipeg Jets. So
yeah, okay. Gun to your head, 6-shooter to the head. Yeehaw. Who's making the playoffs? The Winnipeg Jets or the Calgary Flames?
There's a snake in my boot. Just use Toy Story. It's really simple. Flames Jets?
Who gets the last playoff spot between the two of them?
I think the Jets are a better team. Like, talent-wise, I think they have a better product on yeah. Like, I don't know exactly what their schedules look like. You could tell me the Jets have the second hardest schedule and the Flames have the easiest schedule. Sure, but all things being equal, I think the Jets can kind of hold off, stay in a spot long enough to kind of make the postseason and play a couple games.
Yeah, so when I look at where the Jets are, and that is they're kind of trending downward. The Flames are kind of trending up. Last night's loss notwithstanding, they're in a pretty good spot. I think that we're going to see the dynamic shift over the coming weeks, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're having this conversation in 2 weeks and it's the Jets that are chasing the Flames. I don't know where it's going to land. Like, I haven't done a big dive on either one of these teams, but I don't know. Just like face value alone, Jets have like 5 wins over the last 18 games, and the Flames have wins in 4 of their last 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there was a couple. There was like a month ago, there was no Leafs game, and I was like, went hard on Winnipeg over Philadelphia. And Philadelphia looked like a world-class, world-beating team that night. And the Jets just had nothing, right? So I imagine there's probably a lot of that. Obviously, they only have 5 wins in the last 18. I don't know, Winnipeg.
I lied. 2 wins in their last 3 for the Flames. I thought they had more than that. But still, they were building momentum this week.
Weirdly enough, like, the Jets and Flames kind of have this, like, the most intense, boring rivalry in sports, right? Because they've met a couple times in the playoffs, and I think they've both knocked each other out, right? Because they were part of, like, the playoffs, and then they meet, like, the following season, and now they're chasing each other in the standings. Like, I feel like there could be a really intense rivalry, but both fan bases just don't care. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, they can't get into it. Like, a prairie rivalry kind of sounds fun, right? Like, maybe we need realignment.
Maybe they try. Maybe that's what they were trying to stew up when the Flames played the Jets in Regina a few years ago. It was like, here, let's straddle the prairies and give them both something. But even that game didn't have much luster. Maybe, and the Jets don't really have a natural. Even when they were in Atlanta, they didn't have a natural rival. Yeah. Maybe they're just friendly Manitobans that nobody really wants to hate. Maybe that's the issue.
That's it. Hard to love, harder to hate. Winnipeg Jets. So back to our standings. 15th. Guys, we've almost talked about every Canadian team, and like we're halfway through the league. That's always good to hear. Oh, look at that. We get to 12th. I don't think anything rhymes with 12. And you get the Edmonton Oilers. So Edmonton Oilers, they made some news. They are a team that we probably want to talk about a little bit. What did the Oilers? Did the Oilers do anything during the trade deadline?
Finally, my God! After months of cock teasing us, it was finally time to pull the trigger. Matthias Ekholm. I think the team got immediately better. Barry was growing on me. Matthias Ekholm is a big upgrade, and I think that this team is on it. They are in the compete zone in the Western Conference, and I think Matthias Ekholm elevates them just a little bit further. So happy with the trade. Not so happy with what they gave up, but early returns are good.
Yeah, looking at it quickly, the prospect of Reed Schaefer, a first, and Tyson Berry. I know there's also a fourth included in there, but they got back a sixth, so that doesn't really matter at all. Ekholm, I think he signed for a little bit too, right? Like he has a little bit of term, so it's not just a one and done. He's been fairly healthy. He's only missed something like 20 games in 10 years or something like that. Like he's just very, very healthy man. Great passing. There was a couple plays. Was it against the Leafs that he had a couple, like he pulled the trigger on a couple passes and like got the guys open. So it looks like that's good. Defensively, he just stays at home, right? The things the Oilers don't want to do. They don't want to defend. Ekholm only wants to defend. It's a good dichotomy there. That's a needle mover, of a move in terms of just kind of what this team can bring on the ice right now. When you get the level of compete from the McDavid and the Draisaitl right now, when you're getting two all-class players, you bring up your defensive responsibility from your back end just a little bit. I don't know. I think the Oilers are going to see some nice things in the next little while.
You touched on a lot of important things, and I feel bad going back to the start of this. But did you just Ryan O'Reilly me? Did you just put it out into the universe that Matthias Ekholm would never get hurt? And next thing you know, Leon Draisaitl's going to step on his head in warm-up or shoot a puck in his hand so that he doesn't play the rest of the season?
One of the most unhinged things I've seen in the last couple of weeks was some guys on a podcast talking, and one guy said that Austin Matthews wants out of Toronto so badly that he knew that Ryan O'Reilly would get them out of the first round, that's why he doesn't have many goals, because he's systematically just missing the net because he's trying to keep like his total down so he can go somewhere else. And he actually broke Ryan O'Reilly's fingers because he's such an accurate sniper. He saw it and actually shot at it and tried to injure his own player, knowing that would stop the Leafs from getting out of the first round this year and give him an easy out of Toronto.
Oh God! Wow, that's a tinfoil hat conspiracy.
That's a hot take. I've had some hot takes before. That one gets there. No, hopefully I did not put any bad will on Mr. Ekholm.
Because we're done with steppers. We traded away all the people that would have stepped on his head. They're gone, man. So don't even try. Mm-hmm. Oilers are in a good spot right now. You can't take this away from me.
Well, I mean, you still have Jack Campbell. The Leafs, I'm still trying to get you. I'd sent you Jack Campbell this summer, so don't worry, I'll get you.
Yeah, they'll get you. I have to touch on one thing. That is the Edmonton Oilers, fourth in the Pacific Division, longest odds outside of the Calgary Flames of the teams that are in contention. They were plus 600 yesterday. You may have seen this tweet. But longest odds on the board as far as teams that are competing, I should say. And they have 2 games against the Golden Knights, 2 games against the Kings upcoming, with the game against the Kraken. So hedging opportunities along the way. But this team has 3 games against the San Jose Sharks and 2 games against the Anaheim Ducks. So if you could conceivably, they're 4 points out of first in the Pacific. You've got a relatively light schedule, but then with those important games against, if you take 4 of 5 against the teams ahead of you in the standings, and you clean the board against the teams that you should, unlike the Flames, we could be talking about the Edmonton Oilers in a very different light in a few weeks. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying, as a gambler, I'm willing to roll the dice that the Oilers end the division on top, or if nothing else, just win back some of my money in some of these games down the road.
Nice. Yeah, I don't hate that. I was looking at them the other day at 12th and kind of scoffing, but that doesn't do it quite justice because, they're only 4 points out of first. A lot of game left to play. It looks like they're clipping in the right direction. I was just going to reiterate everything you said. So instead of that, I will say, watching one of the highlights from the trade deadline day was watching Ken Holland's press conference when all was said and done. About an hour before the trade deadline, he got up on a podium and said, "No, we're done for the day. No more business." And I said, "Ken, that's good. You should close your door early on one of the most important business days of the year." And then he proceeded to go over everybody's salary to a T. He said, not only did we get Ekholm, but they also retained $250,000, guys. That's quite a bit. And he proceeded to financially tell you every single move he made, almost as if he's never looked at the finances before of this business that he's been running. And he wanted to sound really smart in front of an investors group or something like that. It was kind of painful, but I kind of loved it, so...
that's just that right amount of cringe where you can't not watch. I didn't see that. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this, but that is definitely a humble brag where you're like sitting back and be like, guess what? I saved us $250,000, guys.
Not a big deal, guys. Not a big deal. I'm an old man. I understand finances, guys. I remember I bought my house in cash 75 years ago. It was $20,000. It was kind of a big deal. So don't talk to me about finances, okay? Okay.
Don't you dare bring that up. I will buy out McDavid right now.
I'll do it. I know the cap savings right now. I have a calculator. I can do this. I know what I'm doing. Other notes of Oilers. I've seen this since then. McDavid, Draisaitl, they're running away with it. Man, they can't be stopped. Oh boy! Actually, I think we have some actual headlines past that. McDavid with his 150 points on the year, plus 10. Leon Draisaitl, almost 100 points on the season, 97 points last I looked, minus 2. All right, we'll go with that. I think potentially there's some inflation with the point totals in Edmonton this year, so maybe they don't tell you the whole story, but
you know what? Plus minus being what it is, Oilers are winning games. Draisaitl's finally heating up again. McDavid's north of 50 goals. I would take -2 in a playoff spot versus whatever it is you'd like to.
And I think bringing a guy with Ekholm that potentially can stop the hemorrhaging that they get on defense, right? Poor Jack Campbell's just been thrown to the wolves this year. I don't know if it's a combination of he sucks or the rest of the team just doesn't play defense. But the fact that your two best guys, someone on your team almost has 100 points is at a -2. Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. The other bonkers thing was one of the most boring hockey games you would ever see. Wednesday night, that poor Edmonton Oilers had to go into the big bad Bruins den, and they whooped their ass. They stayed with them. They took a couple knockout swings right to the jaw, and then they fought right back. Weird last-minute goal against Skinner, kind of, I think, at the end of the second or end of the first, with 0.2 seconds left, gave the Bruins a 2-0 lead. And then Nurse had kind of I think he was looked like he was throwing the puck kind of towards the nets. Beat the Bruins goaltender. They went up 3-2, held on, and there you go. One of the first losses of the year for the Bruins on home. I think they're still that's their third or something. It's March. God damn.
Yeah. We could do a whole dive on the Bruins. That's a whole nother podcast, but I was actually in Edmonton. I saw Oilers versus Bruins in Edmonton. Connor McDavid, first 50th goal season. I just got to say this off my chest. I got to get this off my chest. Years ago, and I'll structure this a little bit. Years ago, Anastasia took my daughter to a hockey game. Nugent Hopkins broke his stick. Trainer taped it up for her. Gave it to her at in the second period. She's been a Nuge fan ever since. I couldn't not. She had her heart set on a Nugent. She wanted the reverse retro Nugent Hopkins jersey, which I was like, fuck yeah, let's do that. Went to the arena. They didn't have it in kid sizes, didn't have it in adult sizes. You will never believe how much a Ryan Nugent Hopkins jersey cost at Rogers Place. I'm going to set, you know what? Do you want to play an over and under game, or do you want to take a stab at it?
Yeah, let's give me an over and under. I'm going to go 290. I'll just go 290.
I was going to say 275, but $330, Mick. $330 for a... And I told her, and I didn't look at the price tag before getting it, and this is on me. I looked at the kids' jerseys. Kids' jerseys were $140, but the only Nugent Hopkins was in the adult sizes. Maybe this was a fucking salesman swindle. I don't know. I get to the front. I was like, oh my God. And I told her flat out, I was like, you're getting buried in this thing or walking to grad in it or something. This fucking stung. This stung. And keep in mind, this was a night I was spending $15 on beer too. So you can imagine my dismay walking out there. And I don't know how people in Edmonton do this on a nightly basis. How do you go to a game, spend $15 on beer, $330 on jerseys, and just think this is the best experience of my life? I don't get it.
At least, I guess, yeah, I mean, that's the premium to pay watch one of the best hockey players of all time play. I guess, is that what they're saying right now? Is like, this is a hollowed ground. This is where McDavid kind of buries the puck in the nets. It's going to cost you. I'm sorry.
Oh, it costs.
Yeah, it cost you. You know, like there's a lot of hurt buttholes coming out of that place. So one way or the other, we're going to hurt buttholes here. So
Offering handies in the stalls by the urinals, be like, "Hey, my daughter really needs a jersey, guys. You want me to shake it for you? $20. That's it."
That's it. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad you became an entrepreneur there. So that's good. Man, that was a busy last couple weeks. Then, yeah, good hockey game. Yeah.
It was a good hockey game. Yeah.
Nice. I think it was better. Did I watch parts of that? I think it was a bit more entertaining than the one we just saw this past week. So, like,
there was time, like. There was 3 stoppages in the first period. Like the sub 10 stoppage came in like the 3-minute mark. That's how long they went without like a whistle.
It seemed way more entertaining and exciting. And I was like, oh, this is a fun game for Grant to go to. And like, I was kind of expecting this. I almost fell asleep. On the couch watching a hockey game. I was like, man, this is boring.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. That's the Oilers this week. So, speaking of the Oilers, they play the Leafs tonight. So I think we have to scroll up a little bit more to find the last team on the list at 4. Did they? Oh, they were busy too. Oh, since the last time we spoke. Because when did we speak last? What had they traded? They had got O'Reilly the night before.
Yeah, you broke that news to me. Still makes my head hurt.
Yeah. As well from that deal, they also ended up with Noel Akari, who's seems like he's a good forward too, right? Like it wasn't just a one-player deal. They got something there. The next Sunday, I guess we didn't record, taking a little break, randomly in the morning. Oh, the Leafs are trading another first-round pick. Oh my gosh. For Jake McCabe, Sam Lafferty, and a couple fifth-round picks. So recouping a little bit in the picks department there. As well as they're getting some retention, 50% retention on McCabe's deal for the next 2 years. So I'm like, this is great. Sunday morning, maybe that was Saturday or something like that. Grant, I was fucking stoked. I was stoked on this deal. I was happy. The Leafs had their defensive core locked up for the next 2 seasons for $19 million. $19 million, and had 7 defensemen signed. And I was like, that is actually how you have to do business if you have front-loaded deals. To pay Austin Matthews a max, to have guys that make over 10, you need to have $19 million on your back end. And I was like, wow, that's great. It didn't stop. It didn't stop. I believe it was maybe then the Sunday or the Monday. They moved Rasmus Sandin for Eric Gustafsson and a first. They got rid of Pierre Engvall for a third, which then becomes Luke Shen. And that was the end of their day. So they kind of seemed like they kind of went crazy a little bit. They now have 9 defensemen. Whew, it was a lot to take in. And then they lose to Vancouver. That felt good. That made me really happy.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't even know where to break that down. So where do you want to start with the Leafs? Because that was like 2 weeks worth of information. Do you just want to jump into it now? Like, how's it looking? What's happened? Injuries have happened. Ryan O'Reilly's now not going to play again until April.
There's just, you unpacked everything that we needed to unpack. It's just like, which string do we tug on first? That road trip, atrocious. I shouldn't say atrocious, but you barely hang on against the Leafs. You kind of salvage it with a win against the Devils. Mm-hmm. But you lose to the Canucks, you lose to the Oilers. Who did they beat? The Kraken? I don't know. I wasn't impressed.
Yeah, they lost to the Oilers, beat the Flames, lost to the Canucks, beat New Jersey, and now they're home against the Oilers tonight. So,
wasn't there a Seattle game mixed in there? Anyways, doesn't matter. It was their metrics we'll dig into in a later section, but their trades. I have complimented Kyle Dubas time and time again because he is a shrewd, sharp person who just gets the most out of every deal, and it's kind of crazy that general managers go into these deals and just, I don't know if they cater to him. I don't know if they cater to his demands. I don't know what his strategy is, but it works. And the Leafs get the better part of every transaction. It's absurd. I'm excited to see what Sam Lafferty brings. Jake McCabe, we kind of know what we're getting. But Sam Lafferty, I think, is like a true X factor who could be like...
fucking good. Him and Akari, they're very underrated. You watch those guys on the ice. When Lafferty gets the puck, he's strong, he's fast, he's great puck control, his passing is top notch. Like, he's almost a game changer just in himself, right? Like,
I was gonna say, I haven't seen any of it and like any of the live stuff, but I looked at his metrics coming into the Leafs. They were pretty good. Like, as far as Chicago players go, they're pretty good. Coming here, he's started 18% of his zone. Like, his zone starts come in the defending zone. That's absurd. That's a shocking amount of defensive zone starts. But still, he creates so many chances considering that, like, that disadvantage from the get-go. So I honestly think that he is going to be a true third-line winger that just pushes this team over the edge.
Akari and Lafferty on the third line makes the Leafs look like they're at a different levels most nights, right? And yeah, the O'Reilly deal or the O'Reilly injury, you're like, that sucks. But I'm like, but they're not dead to rights. Like, they still have, 2 top 10 players in the league. They still have a pretty solid defense. Like, they're getting okay play from their goaltenders, and now like their third and fourth lines do damage with Lafferty and these guys running around like Jankrocs all over the place too. Like, they've got some good like middling guys here, and like I don't understand why anyone trades with Dubas, right? Like, Dubas seems to me like he actually understands the finances of a team better than other people. In his press conference, he doesn't tell us like dollar for dollar, like he's reading off of wrists, like notes on his wrists or something, like you get from a Ken Holland. Good deals, good things. Luke, yeah.
But we got to talk about Gustafsson, because you basically get Gustafsson he was a highly tagged guy, never really panned out.
Yep.
But I promise you, he will replace what Rasmus Sandin brought. And they got a first in the deal. It makes no sense to me. I don't know how they swindled this. This is like he sold whoever the Caps GM is a $330 jersey without the Caps GM knowing it. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know how he pulled this off, but the Leafs are in a good spot.
Well, and only that, but I think Dubas put his foot down a little bit because Sandin had a Jacob Trouba-ish negotiation this summer, right? Like, he did not want to sign his RFA deal with the Leafs. He was holding out for more money. He wanted more ice time. He wanted a bigger role. He thought he was something special. And I think Dubas kind of said, all right, we'll give you a deal. We'll play ball. But now he's like, and the first chance he said, get the fuck out of my organization. I don't want guys that don't want to be here. Like, we're not fucking around with negotiating. Like, I think he was playing 3D chess with that deal too. He was looking and say, any Swedish guys in this locker room that are going to be difficult in negotiations, there's the door.
Why is he singling out the Swedes? I thought he liked Nylander.
I don't know. I don't know why he's picking on him specifically, but like, watch your fucking mouth, William. What? Yeah, no, but like that trade. So I mean, just if you on the screen here, instead of that first round pick, like we could swap out Sandin going to the Blackhawks, and they got a Gustafsson back. That seems decent, right? So they were. I don't know. Again, a lot of key pieces, a lot of fine work there. Well done. Did Dubas save his job?
It's too early to tell. If Austin Matthews plans on like just shooting, if William Nylander is targeted tonight, and that is, I hope it all happens in slow-mo too, where you see Austin Matthews wind up. He's aiming at the net, then he sees William Nylander out of the corner of the eye, and then he readjusts himself, and down goes Nylander. Then I'll have some concerns,
okay.
But we will. Their success in the playoffs is really going to determine whether or not Dubas has a job next fall.
Yeah, I think, like, based on just what he did, based on what he has, based on what he walked away with, right? Like, he didn't empty the cupboards. He kept all his top prospects. Still has a first in this upcoming draft. Like, he's got pieces moving forward. I would think that I would see a player potentially on the hot seat, maybe even O'Keefe, but I think his name's definitely been moved down the chopping board. There's also the case to say he's like, I don't want to be here anymore. You guys don't pay me enough. I don't have enough of a deal. I'm going to go find another job. Like, he might walk away before the Leafs fire him at this point, because there's a lot of teams out there. Like, where do you want to live? Do you want to make a lot of money and, like, hang out in Anaheim and go play golf a lot? We could do that. We could do that. That gets us to top of the standings. Only other thing of note, Boston Bruins, number 1 in the league. 103 points. They have a 104 goal differential.
But I have to say this about the Bruins. They like their window is now. They have they have one first round pick over the next 3 drafts and no second round picks.
Man.
So they have this is the Tampa Bay Lightning model on steroids. Like they can't not win this year.
Well, and with that, they just gave Past a big deal worth $11.5 million or something, making him one of the top highest paid guys. So there goes the team friendly discounts, right? That helps a lot. Like when you're paying an extra $5 million for a guy's services, your team just gets worse, right? So we are going to see a decline. And then just look at the cupboards going forward in Atlanta. Leafs, they're bare with draft picks. The Bruins are now bare with draft picks. Tampa Bay, I'm sure, doesn't have any prospects or draft picks. Florida's got rid of everything. So Ottawa, Detroit, maybe in the next couple of years, I think we're probably going to see a pretty big momentum swing. So I think this might be getting close to the end of this current era of the Atlantic, right? Just going forward, because it's going to take a while to get these teams out of that. So I didn't know that Boston was kind of in the prospect and draft pick barren. So.
Wow, we killed a lot of time in headlines today.
We had a lot we kind of had almost 2 weeks worth of material to cover almost with each team, right? The guys at the bottom.
Weeks too, good.
Oh yeah, it wasn't just mid-January weeks where the Flames played 2 games this week in the last 2 weeks. There's a lot going on there. So no, good job by us. But that is it. Like Grant said, that's usually 20 minutes. So. Before we leave NHL.com, though, I'd be remiss if we did not make fun of their daily fantasy hockey pick projections from 2 weeks ago. You ready for this?
That is 2 weeks. So, okay, I didn't know we got 2 weeks of stuff to make fun of. This is awesome.
Oh, sorry.
Did you keep track last
from 2 weeks ago?
Okay, gotcha.
I think I didn't. I was going to, but then I was like, it'll just be too confusing. They wanted a goal last week. Jake DeBrusk. Zero goals. Sam Girard for an assist. Yep, no, big 0. A point. Logan Couture, he got a point. Does that count?
We'll give it to him.
All right, and then Dougie Hamilton, shots on goal 3. Why do they always pick defensemen?
I don't know. I do not know.
Do not know. All right, so another 0-4. What are they doing tonight? And I only keep tabs because if I make fun of someone, I'll man up to it. You suck. I don't know who writes this, but you're terrible. Goal tonight. All the NHL games. You've looked at the slate. You know where the over-unders are. Who are you thinking is getting the goal? Is it Alex Lafreniere?
Nope, definitely not.
Well, NHL.com thinks so. What about an assist? Do you think an assist? Maybe the Colorado Avalanche are hosting the Arizona Coyotes. So why not Clayton Keller?
Oh, wow. Okay. What next?
All right, okay. Up a point. This one's not terrible. So a player, you just want a point. That's all we're going for. We give you credit, I guess, so that's what you get. Pavel Buchnevich, St. Louis at Columbus. Okay, yeah, sure, cool. And then finally, shots on goal. Kings at Nashville. Obviously, you need to look for the man, the myth, the legend, Victor Arvidsson. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
They have 2 maybes, and then they have, I'm like, why is Clayton Keller on this list?
I'm excited for when we get to laugh at this again next week.
Yeah.
That's what's keeping me sane right now.
All right. So then FanDuel. We only make fun because we love NHL.com. We only make fun because guess what? I made $2 last time we did a FanDuel lineup, so now who's the idiot?
Well, I'll tell you, it's me and NHL.com because I got absolutely roasted. Yeah, I'm just pulling it up now. But who did you do? Who did you have? What worked out? What didn't work out?
Matt Sogard, I had him in net. It was a 5-2 win. Senators over Montreal. Won that one. Other than that, Josh Manson, 16 points from a defenseman. That's pretty good. Drake Batherson, 15 points. Braden Point and Patrice Bergeron, 12 and 23 points. So 114, not a great showing. I think it was kind of just a slower week. I don't think there was too many boom busts. And yeah, I'll take it. I'll double my money and walk away happy.
Are we looking at the 25th? Is this 2 weeks ago was February 25th?
Is that the date on this?
I'm assuming. Anyways, I've enjoyed some success this year. There's been moments in fantasy, daily fantasy. Gambling's always been my forte. I'm not ashamed to admit that I finished 700th out of 714 people.
Solid. All right.
Okay, another over-under game.
68.
Oh, no, it was 40.8. It was 40.8. Oh, God.
So no one got double digits on your team.
Oh, 2 people got double digits, and then I had 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Brady Tkachuk, thanks for 11.2. Jesper Bratt was my only good pick, 18.4, and I think he was a discount, too. Other than that, and this was like, we were high on the Sens this night, and it was not their top line that did the scoring. I can't even remember who was scoring, but I promise you, it wasn't Tim Stützle, Artem Zeb, and Brady Tkachuk. It was everybody else.
Yeah, like Derek Brassard, the guy who won my pool, he had Derek Brassard. Get the fuck out of here. Like, there's no way you pick that thinking, like, no, FanDuel's stupid.
Yeah, stupid.
Stupid. Speaking of how much I love FanDuel, though, tonight I'm so excited about my lineup that I built. I tried a new strategy. Did not work at all. I tried to do every, 16 players make a pick, right? Like a draft, right? You know, you kind of go down and you say, I want this guy, and then I want this guy, build my team that way. My team was something like $7,000 over the salary cap when I was all said and done. And I was like, okay, so that's not how you build FanDuel lineups.
I was in the exact same boat. I had loaded up. I had about 4 empty spots, and I had $12,000 left. I was like, "This is," and I didn't even have a goalie yet. I was like, "This isn't going to work for me." So
no, not at all. You
want to go first?
I'll get into it. Sure, why not? Starting in net, I looked Jordan Binnington. He's $400 from the floor, $6,900 for a goalie. St. Louis against Columbus. I think that's a coin toss game. I will take a coin toss on my goalie, especially if I'm saving right there. So I don't like that. Don't hate that. On the back end, utility, I was cheap. I got Philip Di Giuseppe from the Vancouver Canucks. It's a cool name. $3,700. That's even a cooler price. Matty Bernier at $5,400. I've Rasmus Sandin and Jake McCabe, 2 players who, you could kind of argue, kind of got traded for each other. $4,600 and $4,300. In fact, Rasmus Sandin's been having a hell of a run right now, and I hear about it all the time on Twitter. He's had a couple goals, a couple point nights. He's going to turn into an absolute stud, and then the Leafs will just have to watch the Norris Trophy go to Sandin for the next 2 years. It'd be great. Up front, we have to start at the top. He's playing all world. I think he's at a different level than every other single player on the planet. Of course, I'm talking about the best player in hockey, Austin Matthews. I'm just kidding. This is Connor McDavid. $10,000, probably worth it. Maybe. I don't know. I was kind of looking at the top 4. I couldn't pick. McDavid, Draisaitl, Matthews, Hughes. I think they're all probably worth that top spot. I wanted one of them. I went with the top guy. Mark Scheifele, $6,800. Martin Nikikas at $7,300. And then finally, Seth Jarvis. I have a bit of a Carolina stack there at $5,400 because Carolina plays good defense. Vegas plays good defense. Why not stack up in a low-scoring game like that? Sounds like a good strategy.
Oh, God. Well, I'm worried about Connor McDavid tonight because I also have him.
Yes.
It was part of I would call it a minor Oilers stack. I went Connor McDavid, Zach Hyman, Stuart Skinner. We'll talk about the reasons a little more detail in the next segment. But I wasn't sure. I had him and Nylander and a couple other guys, and I was like, Anyways, if you have McDavid, I might get out of the way. I don't know if I'm going to stay with that. But I've got a few more roster spots to talk about. Oliver Bjorkstrand in Timo Meier on the wing. Devils playing in Montreal. Montreal, I don't care if it's Saturday night at home. They are just Devils fodder, we'll call it. And Bjorkstrand, I would say, I looked into him. I think he's got 20 shots over his last 5 games, but 0 goals. Feels like he's due for a big breakout. Or no, maybe he's got 4 points over that 5-game span. I think only one of which is a goal. Feels like he's going to be in a good breakout spot here. Not super confident with the Stars' defensive structure. But anyways, too late now. He's in there. Up front, I also added Blake Lizotte, another King center. He's got multiple shots in 3 straight, and he's just not having any luck. Another guy contrarian approach. He's got to break out eventually. Back end, Marco Scandella with the Blues and Calvin DeHaan with the Hurricanes. I just went with cheap guys who skate in the top four. Hopefully they get a few points. And lastly, Jack Roslovich. This guy's been shooting the lights out recently. He comes in on a modest 2-game point streak, but has shots in a whole bunch. Feels like he's going to be the one who carries the Blues. Yeah. Sorry, Blue Jackets the rest of the way.
Unheralded part of that Line deal.
Yeah, and he's a cheap, modest 4,400. I was like, this feels all right to me.
Wait, he's with Columbus? So you're telling me that the Jets traded Roslovich and Line for Pierre-Luc Dubois, who doesn't want to be there anymore?
Was Roslovich part of the deal?
He was, I think so, yeah. Maybe there was a second in return, but I think it was Roslovich and Line. That's a hell of a return.
Yeah.
Win-loss, kind of feel like Winnipeg lost that deal, so that's too bad.
Hindsight, you're probably right. Because Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to Montreal at the first second he can. So.
There you go. Great.
We'll see how it all plays out. Not feeling super confident. If I take out McDavid, maybe I could split the money differently up front. Anyways, I'll probably just leave it. We'll see how it goes. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's different.
Okay, cool. My Martin. At this point, I almost just need to throw a Seattle Kraken on the ice. I almost feel like because they score so often and they just push the puck so frequently, it behooves me not to do something like that. But the fact you brought up the Kings, I don't hate Quinn Byfield. He plays. In theory, he's a big, strong kid. He might get a couple touches on the puck, and I feel like he was really cheap. And I was going to do something, see if I could upgrade Martin, Nikas. I might tinker. It might look different when we talk about it next. No one remembers. So
I will say this, and that is, I did one of the sites that I write for. I put together a piece on Kings versus Predators, and I am very high on the Kings right now.
Okay.
Preds have given up 13 or more high danger chances and 30 or more scoring chances in 3 of their last 5. And the Kings have put up 15 or more in 3 of 4. And then Preds are also on first night of a back-to-back. Goaltending is going to be an issue for them. They sold off, I don't want to say half their roster, but every serviceable piece they could. Looking ahead to next year, it could get ugly. And that's kind of the rationale for adding Lozada. Is I kind of want a Kings guy in my lineup just because I think that they are going to score. Time will tell, though. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, and looks like Quinn Byfield right now is projected to be their first-line center. All right, I'll do it. I will save some money. Byfield's in, and I'm going to upgrade from... who was in that spot? The Nikas? Martin Nikas, and I can upgrade to Nylander, Myers, Mitch Marner? Neat. Yeah, Mitch Marner. He's kind of basically the Leafs' best player. Let's go like that. I can get the 2 best players in Hockey Night in Canada tonight, McDavid and Marner. Pretty good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, solid. All right, yeah, I'm feeling much better about that. And saddle up and ride. And that's perfect, because our bandwagons, Oilers, Leafs, they're going to be miles long, because we're all jumping on board. Doot doot.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw, as they say. Cool. So with that leaves us with just gambling advice. How did you do 2 weeks ago?
Oh, just dog shit. Just absolute dog shit. I can't remember what my 3 picks were, but I could tell, they were all wrong. I can't remember last time I was skunked, but I was skunked.
Okay. Yeah, I went 1 for 3. All my picks paid over $100, so I think I made $6 when all said and done. So about a 6% return. I got a return,
That counts for something.
That counts for something. What screwed me over? I don't know. It was an over. Calgary, Colorado over, I think, is what screwed me over. Colorado went up something like 2-0, and Calgary just kind of stopped playing late in the first, and that was the game, so it's too bad.
We said don't score on us this early!
This is not fair! We were tired. There's lots of... The air's thin. We're not used to mountains. Today... I was feeling kind of, I don't know, lazy. I have 1 pick.
All right. Well, I will lead off. My approach has been working, and I'm happy to report that I am not changing it. Where will we start? All right. I've been alluding to it all podcasts. Edmonton Oilers at Toronto Maple Leafs. First game, Saturday night hockey night in Canada. Leafs are settling in at home after a 5-game road trip. They were outplayed at 5-on-5 in every one of those games. They still won three of five. Respectable trip. Oilers, I know that it can be conceivably it's a bit of a letdown spot coming off the big win against the Bruins, but we have seen these better efforts, more consistent efforts from them, and I don't expect them to roll over and die. I think the moment requires an overtime or a shootout. I think it just feels like it's the right spot to do it. It was sitting at plus 400. I see that it's down to plus 390. So $30 to win 117. And you know what? I'll just roll right over to the next overtime pick that I have on here, and that is Dallas Stars at Seattle Kraken. Both teams like defense, but both teams also like offense. I could either see this being like a 2-1 game in a shootout, or I could see it being a 6-5 game in a shootout. But two quality teams, I don't expect either to roll over and die. I think that points mean so much this late in the season, and the Stars would be happy to get just 1 point, if nothing else, and roll the dice in overtime. Likewise, the Kraken need points in the Pacific Division. 4 points separates first from fourth. Feels like one of those games that just inevitably gets sorted out in overtime. Plus 360, $30 to win 108.
Ooh, and you get plus money on the over 6.5 goals in that game too? I don't hate that. Like, I know both those teams like to score goals, so that's tempting. Very, very tempting. Well, note for me for later. Myself, well, the odds have shifted, so maybe I was onto something. I put all of my money down in one single game, like I alluded to, because I think one of the better teams in hockey right now is a road dog. And I like that. I like that a lot. I think the Oilers probably are conceivably the better team right now, just bearing the health of all their players. The Leafs, I don't know the status on John Tavares. I know he didn't play against New Jersey earlier this week. He got kind of rocked a little bit last week. He had a pretty bad head injury a couple years ago, so maybe if he's just not feeling up to speed. I think he's playing on the third line tonight, so I don't know if Tavares is going on all cylinders. They still have three very good quality forwards. Matt Murray is in net tonight. I think he is more of a liability than Samsonov at this point. And the fact that the Oilers are not starting Jack Campbell in Toronto probably says that they know that is their Achilles heel. Stuart Skinner, I think he could have a solid performance tonight against the Leafs. Let's go Oilers. I'm going to go Oilers. I'm going to go all $100. I saw them at plus 100 at some point, so bet 100, win 100. So seems like an easy double up. I will put my money on the better team in this one, especially if I'm getting plus money. The line is shifted to minus 105 at this point, so I don't know if I'm the only person in the world that believes that. So,
well, that's hopefully a good omen. We'll see how it all shakes out. Yeah. Good luck. I don't know. No matter what happens, I know that this isn't a true emotional hedge, but whatever happens, you're going to be in a good spot because the Leafs either win or you win money. And I don't hate the play. I don't know if the Oilers walk out on top, but I know that it's going to be a good game. So you have to watch your money ride anyways.
I mean, the Oilers outright embarrassed the Leafs. They caught them sleeping in the last time they went head to head right there. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what kind of an effort we get, right? Maybe we're different in this more truculent defensive squad. My other play was I was almost going to split it, and I was going to see if there was an alternate puck line where I could get Leafs minus, I don't know, a couple goals or something like that. Bigger money. If the Leafs win, I think they're winning by 2-3 goals because the Oilers just don't have it tonight and they make them look stupid, or the Oilers win, right? I don't think the Leafs win a close one.
Well, good luck to you. Last play, I guess last couple plays, $30 on the Buffalo Sabres to beat the New York Rangers. Rangers have looked pretty analytically pretty terrible. They're relying on special team scoring, and the Sabres can score at home. So plus 150 felt like it was just doing them too big of a disservice. It's bumped down to plus 146 now. $30 to win just about 45. Parlay all three of those together, $10 left, and you could potentially walk away with $544 in your pocket.
Sweet. Not only do the Sabres like to score at home, they like to be scored on too, because giving up 10 goals to the Dallas Stars the other night, that's embarrassing.
10-4. What a shit show that was.
Yep, that's unfortunate. So that's it. That kind of wraps up this episode of Can of Puck. Only a couple minutes over. Honestly, in the amount that we talked and the material that we had to cover to get kind of wrapped up, ain't not bad.
Not bad.
My God. I came in with like an intention to do a better JR impression, and then partway through I kind of realized I don't do a very good one, and I don't really have much material outside of my God. So, something to workshop for next week.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm taking this away too. But the Canada Puck Podcast would not be the Canada Puck Podcast without our babe of the week. I'm not sure if I've cycled through this lovely lady before, because there was one episode, if you recall, I didn't have my phone. I had to rely on my computer, and I've kind of been just crossing them off on Instagram as I come across them. I don't know if I've shared this one before, so I apologize if it's a duplicate, but she's on the list on my phone, so we're going to get her off of it. And that is Victoria from the Dallas Stars Ice Crew, and that is DSIG_Victoria. Like the swampy city in Vancouver Island, that is VICTORIA. Apparently she's got lots to celebrate. Whatever. Is that Southern Methodist? Oh, man. That's a good Texas lady if I've ever heard one. But DSIG Victoria, you can tell she puts together a quality product on and off the ice. She is our babe of the week.
Dallas Stars Ice Girls. Yeah. Huh. Neat. Cool. I guess like the Cowboys cheerleaders are probably like the last bastion of female, whatever that is, whatever you want to call cheerleading, right? So like they're kind of like, they've always been like the pinnacle. So I could see the Dallas Stars being like, oh, the Ice Crew's also got to be kind of like babes, right? So
yeah, they have a standard to live up to, and I can assure you they are reaching, if not exceeding it.
Damn.
Great work. Good job, Dallas. Good
Yeehaw!
Job. We should have set the over-under on how many yeehaws we'd get through the podcast. I think that was at least 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think that was our third one. So that 3.5. There's some guy out there watching it's like Sacks in a Super Bowl. Come on! It's been 25 minutes.
25 minutes since the last one. Yeah, but here we are, a little over an hour, talking about all the most important stuff over the last couple weeks. We're in last month-ish. Mm-hmm. Next time we chat, less than a month in the regular season.
Yeah,
that's exciting stuff.
Yeah, I got something for next week to talk about, and then like at that point we're kind of looking at like playoff. We can do another playoff matchup, maybe like a quick. Yeah, that's it. We're really wrapping it up.
That's it. We're heading back to the Wild Wild West. See where all the dust settles. See how many yeehaws we get throughout the week. Hopefully a few. I'm hoping at least it comes up organically in some of my interactions. So looking forward to it. I'm going to report back next week. Guess what, Mick? I got 7 yeehaws. Okay. Let's set the over-under now. How many organic yeehaws do you think I can get in before the next time we record?
Like just throughout your life?
Till next week's podcast. And it has to come up somewhat organically. I just can't yeehaw in people's faces.
I think you could probably get a dozen.
Dozen? All right.
Yeah. Yeah, like somebody's like, hey, you got that collated fax report ready to go? And you say, yeehaw.
All right, 12. I'll see. Right. And I'm not going to... I should have got you to write it down so that there'd be no collusion or anything, but I'll see how many I can get.
Okay. All right, cool. Great. So with that wraps up for this week. We'll see you guys next week where I have something for us to actually talk about. So there you go. Not that we didn't have anything to talk about today, but there you go. There's a teaser. Ooh.
Yeah, that cookie crumbs. We'll see you guys... Or, no, before we get there. Party on, Mick.
Party on, Grant.
See everybody next week.
Bye.